So if it was brown, I would shoot at it because I might not get another chance for another year. And that's kind of stuck with me. Tell them the facts of the situation straightforward. It usually doesn't go well. So that's what I think what we're doing with Blood Origins is showing the emotional side of hunters. What kind of help getting over trauma is it to go fly in a helicopter and shoot pigs with your M4? Like, does that help anybody? No, but just tell them, like, let's just go kill stuff for fun. I was in the Marine Corps 12 years, and I was told what to wear. And when the industry tells me I have to wear camouflage, I like to say, okay, I think I don't have to. The Lord says in all labor there is profit, and it doesn't say how much you have to get paid for it to be profitable. This is Jesse Phillips, and welcome to the Wild Initiative.
Put down your latte and pull on your boots.
You and I and everybody listening to this owns 640 million acres.
I think he killed more deer drinking his coffee, smoking a cigarette in the pickup truck than I did spending all that time freezing my butt off.
Something that I would hope is that people realize that those are wild animals and they have savage natures.
I look forward to packing animals out. I look forward to that pain of success.
Doesn't matter where you were born. It doesn't matter where you live. I've said it before, and you know what? I'll say it again louder for the people in the back. Your present circumstance should not limit your passions.
This is Jay Scott of the Jay Scott Outdoors podcast.
Hey, this is Ryan Callahan.
Hi, this is Jules McQueen.
Hey, everybody. Jason Carter here with Epic Outdoors.
Hey, guys. This is Tim Burnett with Solo Hunter.
You're listening to The Wild Initiative.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to another episode of The Wild Initiative, brought to you as part of the Waypoint Outdoor Collective. All right, y'all. So getting on to today's episode. Today, I have Jesse R. Phillips, the Jesse R. Phillips, joining me. I met Jesse through Robbie Kroger of Blood Origins. You may have listened to the prior episode, and I'll actually be talking with Robbie again in a couple of weeks. But I met him at a Starbucks across from Hunt Expo in Salt Lake City a few years back. And finally, we were able to get our schedules synced, and I was able to have Jesse hop on. Y'all, as you may know, a lot of the time, these conversations just kind of go unexpected directions, down weird lines, weird tangents, since we're just having a conversation. And y'all, this one is no exception. We kind of hop all over the place, honestly, and eventually we do touch on the topic of hunting at least a little bit. We get into Jesse's bear hunt and some of his advice for new hunters. But y'all, this is just a fun conversation, really about life and his experiences and finding your purpose. So hope you all enjoy this one. But without further ado, episode 211 with the Jesse Phillips. Thank you so much for joining me today, Jesse. I appreciate you hopping on.
Man, I appreciate you putting up with my pretentious ways. You've been trying to get me on for 7 years, I think.
Yeah. Well, I get it. When you're as an attractive model as you are, you and your Chris Pratt looking SOB with your you guys can't see this right now, but he's showing off the hamburger meat here.
Yeah, sorry, man.
He's looking all kinds of sexy right now. He's trying to seduce me, I'm pretty sure. Through
Zoom. So no, let me read so the people that don't know how sarcastic I am. I'm not pretentious at all. I just don't have a good brain, and you've been trying to get me on for about a year. But we did, like you said, we both kind of decided. And then anyway, I'm glad that it worked out this week because you hit me at the perfect time when I was in a mood to say, let's do it right now. Because if I don't do it right now, it's hard for me to plan it in the future.
I get you. I mean, that's why I have to use that scheduler like I do, because otherwise I would never be able to keep track of any of these.
Right. Yeah.
But no, I appreciate you taking the time to hop on. I'm glad we finally got to sync up. I want to say, I'm pretty sure when we originally met, it was through, we were talking about Robbie earlier. I'm pretty sure it was through Robbie. We were at Hunt Expo at like Starbucks.
It was a Starbucks. I don't remember what show it was, but I do remember it was at Starbucks.
I'm pretty sure it was the Starbucks across the street from Hunt Expo. And I remember Robbie came up to me. He's like, hey man, do you know so-and-so they're really bugging me to come on Blood Origins, and they just seem weird. I probably should be announcing that.
At least you didn't say the name.
Yeah,
but I mean, that's part of his why he's good. He knows, like, he vets people very heavily before he just brings them on.
Yeah,
and he's good at it.
But yeah, so
that's funny. Yeah, but we met at Starbucks over a white girl drink.
Yes. Yeah, I guarantee I was not drinking black coffee whatsoever.
100. There is zero reason to pay for black coffee. I drink black coffee all day that I make myself. But if I'm going to go to a coffee shop and have a coffee made, if it's black, that's just a waste of money, in my opinion. So that makes me probably not a really good coffee person. I know. I don't care. I'm a white girl.
If it takes me under about 45 seconds to actually say the name of the drink, I'm not paying $7 for it. It's just not not gonna happen. Yeah.
White chocolate mocha with almond milk, a dash of cinnamon.
Triple grande upside down caramel macchiato with whole milk and I don't know, something. I'm trying to and I don't know, some foam, whatever. Yeah. Oh, dear Lord. Well, now that we've scared off every single dude listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
So I am curious, do you get people telling you look like Chris Pratt all the time?
Yeah.
Is that like a daily occurrence?
Pretty much that. And then when I grew my beard out, everybody, and because I wear a hat all the time, people think I'm Rip from the Yellowstone.
Oh yeah. You know what? I can see that. You've got a few Rip looking pictures on the gram now and again.
Yeah. When I grow my beard out, I look older. My wife wishes I would go back to my Marine Corps days and she met me and I had a high and tight and a baby face, and that's what she loves. And now I'm a free man and I like to have my hair and my beard and all that. But
oh, that's funny. I was looking through, I pull pictures from your Instagram for the cover photos, and I was going through, and it's like, there is a pretty significant jump, like in your Instagram photos, where you go from full like baby faced to then like bearded, and you drop about like 10 years.
Right? Oh yeah. Like I just turned 31 and I think I look about my age finally, but I always I shave, not now, cause I shave. I look like I'm about an 18-year-old kid. And in my line of work, I like to look my age or a little bit older, cause a lot of, it's hard to take people seriously when you look like a kid. They say it's a good thing. So when I'm older, I'll still look youthful, but I don't know. My joints don't feel as youthful as my face looks.
Oh man, I feel that. I went out. I've been slacking all archery season. Archery season has started out here in Montana, in a lot of the West. And I've been out one time after mule deer. And I really don't care to admit how much my back and knees and oh my gosh, I've just not been ready for the season at all. Where are you based out of again?
Mississippi.
Okay, so your season's just coming up now, right?
Yeah. Bow season's about to start, and I haven't gotten into the bow hunting yet because I haven't done it. So
I know a lot of folks that are like that, and it's one of those things. It's a whole new skill to learn. Let's face it, I'm not saying rifle hunting is easy, but I think it's something you can pick up the basics a lot quicker than.
Oh yeah. And for me, like I was raised, I would get to hunt a couple times a year because the 300 acres we lived on were all year during hunting season. We couldn't hunt because they were leased out. Okay. So I would see deer, I would see all, I would do all the scouting and see all the stuff. And then they would come in and kill them. And then I would get to go hunt like over like 2 days of the year. And so if it was brown, I would shoot at it because I might not get another chance for another year. And that's kind of stuck with me. That's kind of the way I feel, which makes it fun for me. Cause like now I get to go hunt some cool places. And like, I get just as excited now in my 30s. Cause when I was in the Marine Corps, I didn't get a lot of hunting in. And then I had a wife and kids. And when I'm home, not deployed and I feel bad just running to the woods and disappearing. But now my kids, my oldest girls turned 9. They're twins. They just turned 9. My little boy's 5. And so the past couple of years, it's been more of a family thing, and I get to take them. So I don't feel selfish hunting as much as I used to. But the bow hunting I haven't got into because of the whole extra time that you need to put into it.
There's a lot of it's such a perishable skill. It's I feel like you can get away with like putting down your rifle, end of winter and not picking it up again until fall. Okay, put a few rounds through it, make sure you're still sighted in, maybe do a couple of test shots and you're probably pretty safe to hunt. So, this year, I did not shoot at all since last season, but like I probably picked up my bow 4 times since last archery season. And I'm not nearly as accurate as I was. And so I'm thinking most of my hunting is going to be done during rifle season this year.
So I guess you didn't get a muley while you're out?
No, I did not. We actually, I saw a ton. There were some great muleys. A buddy of mine, he hit me up and he's like, hey, I can't remember what I was messaging him for some reason. He's like, hey, by the way, you want to come on a hunt? And he sends me this picture and it's just all you can see are like skyline racks. Like it's just a ton of them. And I'm like, yeah. And so we go, because I'm like, this may be my only chance to actually see something because I've done 0 scouting, 0 prep. I just moved out to Montana this year last year. November, beginning of November will officially be my first full year here. But it's like, I've been so busy and just trying to catch up on everything. I'll admit I am that guy. I've done 0 scouting, 0 prep work. He called me up and I was lucky that I had been organizing my hunting gear because otherwise I would have had no idea where anything was after the move. It was all in different boxes and I just finished kind of organizing it to get ready for the season. And so it's just, this has not been my year for prep work. So I think I'm going to be the target of opportunity guy. If it's brown, it's down kind of.
Yeah. Got to get some meat in the freezer, man.
Yeah, I told him, well, that's what I've been telling my friend. I'm like, here's the deal. It was one thing before I had really had experienced a full freezer before I took my first elk. I had some wild game in there and it was great, but it was like for special occasions when I'd pull it out, a really cute
but when you can eat it. Yeah.
Since for the last year, I've bought like chicken and some bacon and that's about it. Everything else has been wild game and I can't go back. And if it's the difference between having to go back to buying and I still love a good tri-tip. Don't get me wrong. But if it's having to go back to like buying ground beef and tri-tip, every week or getting the big rack, like I'm going to take the food all the time, like at this point. And I've never been the first person to be like, oh yeah, I'm just a meat hunter. I'm like, no, shoot, some big ass walks out in front of me. I'm gonna shoot the crap out of it. But man, it's just too good to pass up. I'm not risking that freezer anymore.
So let me ask you this. This brought up a fun question do you kill an animal? Do you go out and kill animals or do you harvest animals?
Do I harvest them? I use the terms interchangeably. It depends on who I'm talking to and how I want to present it. I don't always like using the term harvest because I feel like it takes away from what we actually do. Sometimes I use it just, you got to read. I feel like you got to read the room. With anything, you got to read the room. You got to read the crowd. But that being said, most of the time I do use the term kill. I don't even know what did I use? Did I say harvest earlier? No,
you said kill. You said kill. No, okay, and because I have very strong feelings about it. Yeah, and I say kill because that's what it is. And I think a lot of people that use the word harvest, I know it. I get, like you said, reading the room and all that. I understand that. But I think sometimes, like a lot of people, they only use that because they don't want to piss off the antis or, on all that stuff. And I think it almost does the opposite of, I think it's not honoring to the process or to that animal to try to church up and pretty up what's actually happening. Like to feed my family, I have to kill the animal. I don't harvest it. It's not a, an ear of corn.
You're not going out and picking morels.
No. Yeah. So that I'm glad. Yeah. I'm the same. I mean, I said strong feelings. I think this day and age, everything is under attack. And if you try to change your verbiage to please people, you're going to get screwed. Like what alphas need to do, I think across the board and politically with your family, hunting, is just be honest and say what it is and be man enough to get kicked in the balls for it instead of try to because that's the thing. A lot of people are like, oh, the antis are good, man, so we got to change it. They're trying to pretty it up, and it's like, no, it's killing. And it's a very sacred thing. Very sacred.
And it's kind of interesting because then people will be like, oh, well, you're just one of those, I'm going to go down with the ship hunters. And that's not the case.
Not at all.
It's like, there's a fine line in there where you can be honest about what something is and talk about it using accurate, truthful terms and things like that. But, there's also, you can also tell the story in a way that's palatable and acceptable for a wider variety of people. And I mean, we were talking about Robbie and Blood Origins.
Yeah.
Before. I mean, that is he presents stuff in a very raw, kind of visceral manner, and it's very honest and truthful.
That's what brought this conversation up, because he and I, he uses it a lot, and I'm the opposite, and we're both kind of like.
Does he use harvest a lot?
He has in the past. But we've talked about it a lot, and I think he's a wise dude, and he's got his own reason doing it. For those that don't know, I do. If you know what Blood Origins is, I do a lot of their film work and then produce for a lot of their episodes. So I'm not bashing on Robbie. He's like my best friend. So it's a fun thing that we banter about. But and another thing, I use take it, if I'm talking to somebody that I know hates hunting, I'll say something like take its life. I take this animal's life, which I think makes it sound like it's something, it's precious. Life is precious on any level. And I want them to know that, and they need to see that. I mean, it's sacred and shouldn't be prettied up. But that's just, I'm also a Marine and I like to kill things. So maybe that's where it's coming from. I don't
know. No, I get in this. I've had this discussion a few times. I was about to say I get in this argument all the time, but I really don't. I don't know why I was going to say that. I've had this discussion a handful of times, and I'll use the term, but I've definitely moved away from it and gone back. I kind of went through listening to podcasts and watching a lot of films and reading the magazines. I kind of went through like a kill, harvest, kill phase.
Yeah.
Where
I did too. Yeah. I did too. When I first started getting in the industry a little bit, I started using harvest and then I was like, what am I doing? So I went back to kill too.
And honestly, the more now that I've gotten back into using the term kill, and this is not meant to be bashing on anyone that uses the term harvest. This is just like how I hear myself. I feel kind of like a pretentious douche when I say it. And I'm not saying everyone that uses harvest sounds like that. I'm just saying when I say it, I get this accent in my head where it's like, yes, and then I harvested the animal. And I probably say it and don't even realize it all the time, which is funny. Yeah. But when I catch myself, I don't know. I got to step away from it.
Well, sorry, I'm on your show and I was asking you, I was grilling you with questions.
No, it's all good. I mean, it's like I said, it's conversation, but it's one of those things, because then we kind of talk about that, but we also talk about how it's very important to present hunting in an accurate light. And I think so often people that tend to be more traditional with their language and their words will often hop into I'm just going to post bloody kill pictures and do nothing but this and that and the other. And
I think that's on the extreme. No, I agree. There has to be a balance of it.
I'm not gonna kowtow to them antis. I'm like, well, it's not kowtowing to the antis. It's looking out for the longevity of a tradition and a sport and a passion and a lifestyle that connects all of us and that we all love.
Right. And that's why I appreciate what Blood Origins does, because I think there's three groups of people in the world when it comes to hunting. It's the antis, it's the hunters, and then there's everybody else. And that everybody else group is they're the group that they don't really care because it doesn't affect them, but they're easily persuaded through the anti-movement because they got tons of money and they got, the Bambi films and all that stuff that make hunting and hunters look bad. And I think that's what's cool about what we're doing with Blood Origins is that it's basically the antis prey on people's emotions. They make you hate hunting or think it's evil and they make you feel things. And a lot of that's as through movies that we watch and all that good stuff. And I think that if you combat emotion with facts, that doesn't usually work very well. I mean, if all you married people out there, like if your spouse is angry or your girlfriend or anybody's pissed off and they're emotional and you just tell them the facts of the situation straightforward, it usually doesn't go well. You kind of have to read the room and be like, all right, let them. So that's what I think what we're doing with Blood Origins is showing the emotional side of hunters, show why people do it in a way that like is human, like not to be cheesy with our why, because that's so overused so much across the world now. Like find your why, all that stuff. I'm talking about just like fight emotion with emotion. Like show the ones that not the antis, not us, but the ones everybody else. Show them why it's a big deal to us and why it's part of who we are. And you fight emotion with emotion, not emotion with facts. Because you can get on there and get a scientist to tell you, why conservation is good and why this and why that. And you can do all that, but it still doesn't make that person feel better. But if you can, so that's kind of my view of it. I think it's a good thing.
And I've admittedly been super guilty of that. And I think there's a balance. I think you can't just solely go with the emotional aspect. No,
100%. No.
There's so much balance. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of, it's not an easy thing for both sides of it. Like there's so many intricate parts to it, and to try to protect what we do as a living, understand why other people hate it, not give an inch, but also be compassionate towards their viewpoint. I mean, it takes a lot of self-awareness. It takes a lot of self-awareness to do that.
And like I said, I've been really guilty of just like getting into the discussion or an argument with someone and just listing out the facts and this is how it is and there's no connection for them. They effectively just respond. They're like, "Oh, well, great job on Wikipedia with your irrelevant facts." And I'm like, "Well, they're all perfectly relevant to the discussion we're having," but and then I get all butthurt. But it's tough because there's no doubt that we have all the facts on our side. Like there's too much science, too much history that proves hunting, particularly as the North American model of wildlife conservation, is effective and it is good for wildlife and the environment and nature, and it's sustainable. But it's hard not to just lay those out. But the times when we're really successful are those times when, you're weaving together your story, you're making it personal to yourself and your emotions and connecting with that person and weaving that together with those facts and presenting it in a holistic way.
Oh yeah. And that's what storytelling is across the board. If you want to compel people to feel like you have to figure out what combination goes into that weave that you're just speaking of. and it's fun.
So you've worked on Blood Origins. Do you do much other work in the hunting space? Is that where the majority of your work is?
Not in the hunting space at all. That's Blood Origins is the only one in the hunting space that I do. I do a lot of other film work, photography. I do some PR work for a couple brands. I have rental properties, Airbnb, we have a horse boarding business. So I do a little bit, whatever pays the bills. I just don't like working for the man. So,
oh, trust me, I feel that. I've been doing this business and bladesmithing and doing the podcast, doing my marketing business. Then I've been Airbnb-ing out my guest room.
Awesome.
Which no, it's really.
I was about to say, you said your bet. So you're Airbnb while you're living there.
Yeah. And,
how's that?
I stopped doing it at the beginning of the month, and I will never do it again in my entire life. It was actually not a bad experience. I just don't like people all that much. And I like having I didn't realize how much stress it put on me until the first week. I didn't have anyone there, and I didn't have to worry about the volume of my TV or any of that. It was the first time I could breathe in a month. So I'm never doing that again.
Yeah, that was pretty ballsy. I have one, but it's not my home. I mean, I bought a house for that reason.
Yeah.
And it still has a little bit of stress involved of I hope they like it. I hope this and that. But if they were in my home, no way. No way. Cause I'm the same. I love people so much that I hate everybody.
Mm-hmm. And
that doesn't make sense, but I love people, but I don't want to be around them hardly ever.
Exactly. That's why I moved to Montana. And
so what part of Montana are you in?
Well, I am just outside of Bozeman in Belgrade, which may sound like the opposite of what I was saying.
No, I know. Yeah, I know Belgrade well.
But I will actually be this time next month. I will be moving up to full on BFE. I will be up in Havre, Montana.
Where's that? What's next to it?
It is about 10 minutes from. Well, my place will be about 10 minutes from the Canadian border, from the Wild Horse border crossing.
So is that close to Eureka, that area, or where?
It's about an hour and a half northeast of Great Falls. Okay. Kind of northwest of Lewistown.
Okay. Awesome.
And it's up in the middle of nowhere, town of 10,000 people. So it's not teeny, but I will be an hour outside of town even. So I'm just
that's exciting. Do you have good internet out there? So you can keep your business going?
They just wired the entire county for fiber. I will have freaking fiber optic internet in the middle of nowhere.
I don't even have fiber where I'm at.
It's like a dream out there for me.
That is awesome. Yesterday, bringing up internet. My internet provider I hate. I have an AT&T tower on my land. I get a 5G tower.
Okay.
And they don't run fiber from it. So I'm having to go through this mom and pop one. Yesterday I was uploading 50 photos. And literally, you know how you always, when you're trying to upload something in a hurry, you're like, it's going to take a year.
Yeah.
Literally it went from it said it was going to take 1 year. That's how slow my internet was. And I videoed it and I'll send it to you. I was so mortified, but then it ended in 2 minutes. So I don't know what it was, but it literally popped up and said, this is going to take a year to upload. But I'm going to be up in Montana next month, actually. And I'm going to fly into Belgrade there. That's where the airport I'm flying into.
Okay. Well, you'll have to give me a heads up if I'm around.
It's going to be this one's going to be quick. I've been out there a lot this year. So we'll definitely have to catch up whenever we're out that way. I've done some help out there with Heroes and Horses.
Okay.
I don't know if you know what they are, but it's pretty cool. It's one of the only military nonprofits that I would give money to and help out with and tell people to.
I think actually some good friends of mine, Ryan and Hillary Lampers, Ryan's kind of handle and brand is Stealthy Hunters.
Okay.
ST Healthy Hunter. And I'm pretty sure all the purchases from their website, a percentage goes to support Heroes and Horses.
Okay, awesome, sweet.
Because you said it, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's where I've seen it before. I was pretty familiar with it.
Yeah, they just moved to down near. It's where Virginia City is.
Yeah,
it's closer to Ennis. And they're doing the galas this week, that week in Montana, in Bozeman, downtown Bozeman. So go back for that. Yeah.
Well, give them a little shout out. Tell us a little bit about what they do. And
okay, cool. Yeah. Heroes and Horses. Go look them up on the Instagram, Facebook, anywhere. It's a nonprofit set up by a Navy SEAL who started it. Micah Fink. He's a good dude, good friend of mine, and he was there and helped with the Twin Towers when they fell. He was a lineman outside of New York. He was, I think, a teenager at the time, maybe 20. And that's when he ran into the building and they got trapped and all that stuff. And that's when he decided he was going to join the SEALs, and he did his thing in Afghanistan, all that. But when he got out, he started this organization because he went through you're a veteran, aren't you?
No, everyone asks because of the tattoos.
I just assumed you were in the Army for some reason. You seem like an Army dude.
I don't know if that's supposed to be an insult from
no,
fine,
I'm not.
Whatever.
I'm a
Marine. Sorry, that's right. You're a Marine. We were just talking about saying. That's right.
No. It's just I categorize people, and I just thought that's what you were for some reason. I don't know. I guess it was your tattoos.
By the way, can I get you some crayons or?
Oh yeah, man. Purple's my favorite. Purple's my favorite. Anyway, so it's a 41-day program that they take veterans. They have a couple classes a year. I think the classes are from 8 to 10. And it's not one of those vacation, come get a handout, go, shoot a pig and get to, it's not like a weekend spa day. It's a 41-day intense program where they're on Whole30 the whole time. They wake up at 4, they PT, they do yoga, then they do cold plunges in the ice. And then they stay in a pole camp up about a mile away from, they have to walk up a hill a mile and back every day to do anything. And in that day one, they get introduced to a Greenbrook Mustang and a mule. And most of these guys have never been around them. And they work through the process of learning how to catch them, saddle them, all, and within a week they're riding around on a Mustang and learning how to work with a mule. And then at night they have these, they sit around and they talk about life and issues and how to work through things. And they go through some books, but it's just at the end of, then they go on pack trips, 10, 15, 20-day pack trips, which is, if you've ever been on a pack trip, I know you've been up in the mountains on foot. They're brutal. And every day, I mean, there's places last time I was out there that I was on my hands and knees climbing up these grades for hundreds of yards. And these horses, I would have to hop off to let and the horses would just run up it, and I'm having to climb it. That's how the grade. It's fun. Bears, grizzly bears, bobcats. Anyway, at the end of the 41-day program, they've been put through the ringer. Most of them have lost a lot of weight. And they have really found basically it's for guys that get out of the Marine Corps or the military, and they don't really know who they are, because for so long you're told who you are in the military. You know when to eat, you know when to do this, you know when to do that. And it's really it's an easy thing because you don't really have to make a lot of decisions on your day to day. And then you get out in the real world and it's a transition. So this kind of helps with that. And at the end of the 41-day program, they've lost a lot of weight. They've been broken and pressured into figuring out who they are. There's not a lot of hand holding. There's zero hand holding. There's no set program of getting people through therapy. It's basically putting them in the vice grip and letting them get pressured, and they're just creating the hardship for them. And then at the end of it, there's a phase 3 where they can go get a job at pretty much any ranch in the U.S., the big ones, and they have a skill set that they know how to go out and implement and do. So it's a really great program. Look them up, check them out.
Definitely, and I'll make sure to link to that on the show notes page. That sounds like like I said, I'd seen it mentioned around here and there, but that sounds like an absolutely incredible program. And
yeah,
I'll admit I've been skeptical of a lot of veterans programs in the past. There's a couple that I've done a lot of research on and I support, but then there's others where I just don't trust the people running them.
And that's the thing. Like I'm very cynical about the whole veterans community. And it's kind of like what I was talking about. People, I'm the same way. Like I can say this because I'm a veteran. I hate veterans. That's kind of everybody gets shocked and like gasp when I say that. But it's like I love them so much, and I see how a lot of them turn into like they feel like that they're entitled to things, and they deserve people to give them stuff. And these people go around to these nonprofits and get all these free trips, hunting trips, and all this cool stuff. And a lot of the people, I think, are trying, the people that are setting them up and doing it are trying their hardest to do the best to help people. Mm-hmm. But like, really, how much help, like what kind of help getting over trauma is it to go fly in a helicopter and shoot pigs with your M4? Like, does that help anybody? Like, it's fun. Yeah. Let's go kill. But let's not try to wrap that up in a 3-day weekend. We're going to feed you really well. You can kill pigs and it's going to help you be a better human. And it's like, no, just tell them let's just go kill stuff for fun. Okay. But it's like people mean it well, but I think it's part of the problem is guys coming out of the military, and sorry, I don't know if this is the direction you wanted to go, but it's guys coming out of the military. I say guys because I was in the infantry and I didn't work with women. So I'm sure it's the same with women. I just don't know as many that served. It's just a different, when they get out and then they get the VA system, and then it's like, it's super easy to become just expect handouts. And I hate that. I hate it so much because that doesn't help. And so these veteran organizations that are set up to try to help veterans, a lot of times just create another way that they can leech off and just get given free stuff. And I'm all I appreciate getting military discount from play. I just booked, my wife and I, we're about to hit our 10-year anniversary, and I booked 5 days in Jamaica because when I married her, I didn't have $2 I literally made my wedding band out of a $50 and hers out of a nickel. That's how poor I was. But they gave me a 10% discount, which was a huge discount because, those are big, expensive trips. So I like them. There are a lot of, like you said, I don't trust a lot of the people that do it. I think a lot of the money goes to places into people's pockets. And then the ones that are mean well, I don't think a lot of them are actually doing well for the veterans. They're actually just making the problem a little bit worse.
What's the road to hell's paved with good intentions? Yeah.
I mean, they really, really mean well. It's just, I think it's hurting the community more than it helps it. And
I mean, I think the programs that are really effective are stuff like you say, the Heroes and Horses, the ones where it brings in some of those aspects that are familiar, whether that's team building, whether that's PT or in the mornings, whether that's getting up and having that strict schedule where you need to be up and you're moving and you're doing this, and but then it's also taking that and it's mixing in other things that will help people transition into a new environment better. Mm-hmm. And then teaching them how to interact in that environment, how to have a skill that will then all the skills that they have, how that can then translate into something useful and usable.
Exactly.
New life, if you will.
And it is exactly a new life because in the military, you're given your purpose. You were told your purpose. You don't have a say so. And so you always know what your purpose is. It's easy. And then you get out and all of a sudden you don't have your buddies all around you. You don't know, chow doesn't come, you don't get 3 square meals a day. You have to pay for rent. You have to do all this stuff and nobody's telling you what to do. And a lot of guys that aren't, it's a process for every one of us to get out. But a lot of them, the ones I see, they turn it, they go get their VA rating and they start getting a check in the mail from the government. and they're like, well, I don't have to work. And then they turn fat and they get lazy. And then it's just this whole thing of like, then they lose purpose. They have no purpose. They don't know where it is, and they don't know how to find it because nobody's telling them what it is. And then they're taking all these meds for the VA's shoving down their throat. And then they have no purpose. They're fat and lazy. They're on the couch eating potato chips with their service dog when they go to Walmart. So their girls will come up and think they're a war hero. And then they wonder why they're all depressed and having suicidal thoughts, because it's like you have no purpose and you don't know how to find it. And that's the thing that I think we have to figure out, is how to do that, because PTSD, depression, anxiety, the military and law enforcement, they don't have a monopoly on that. Like everybody, it's a human condition across the board, and trauma can come from, everybody has dealt with trauma in their life in some way or another, verbal, physical, anything like that. In the military, it's somehow, a lot of people in the military, or a lot of people that are outside the military, don't want to talk about their own personal stuff, because it's like, well, I never served, so like I was not, or even guys in the military, like I was never in combat, so I don't, you know, like, so I'm sure it's much worse for y'all. And it's like, come on, man. Like, it's a human condition. And I think that comes from a lack of, the thing that helps fight it is purpose, and figuring out what you got to do every day to go a mission, be given a mission. And like you're talking about, if you set up a program that's exactly like the military, that doesn't help them. There has to be, it has to have parts of it to show you how to have structure and all this stuff. But then you got to teach them you got to figure out what your own mission is, and your own deadlines are, and your own version of, you know, figure out where your drive is. And, but that's anybody. It's just the military it's such a, you know, there's another nonprofit that I work of, a good friend of mine, Nate Boyer, started. It's called MVP, Merging Vets with Players. And it's to show that it's not just a military thing. It's NFL players and vets. And it's showing that these guys, they've been playing in the league for 12 years. They've been playing football since they were 12 years old or younger. They've been playing football for 30 years, all the way through school and learning and all this stuff. And all of a sudden they retire. They have no team. They have nobody telling them what to do every day. And they still living like they're making, you know, a couple $1 million a year, and they're not getting paid that anymore. And it becomes an issue. And a lot of them end up going broke, and they go mentally, they have a struggle with that. So yeah, I don't know what got me down on that tangent, but.
Well, I mean, you know, it's like you were saying, you know, even in my own personal life, you know, from month to month and week to week. And I look, and those times when I have a clear view of my path forward and my purpose and my vision for my future and where I want to be going, those are my best weeks. Crappy stuff can be happening, you know, all week long, but I'll still count that as one of my good weeks. And there'll be other weeks to where I just feel like I'm stuck in the mud and dragging my feet, whether it's with my business or the podcast or whatever else is going on. And I kind of don't have that hope for the future that I normally do. Great stuff can be happening all week, and I'll still be miserable because of it. Mm-hmm. And I think that what you said is having a clear view of your purpose and where you're headed there's no replacement for that. There's no way to, until you can really catch hold of that, you're not going to be living a happy life.
Yeah. I think it's Hemingway. I can't remember what writer. I think it was Hemingway. The two most important dates in your life is the day you're born and the day you figure out why. Yep. Yeah. And, you know, I don't know. And that's a very redneck rough. That's not verbatim what it was. That was definitely just from my memory bank. But, and for me, like, I don't know why I was born. That'd be awesome if I did. But the thing where I get my drive is to pursue what that purpose is and to try to figure that out. And that's doing stuff, and that's working, and that's figuring out, you know, why do I get up out of bed in the morning, even if I don't have to, you know, what do I do and why? And, because I think, you know, honestly, I think I'll be trying to figure out who I am and why I was put here for my whole life. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to be like, this is it. I've arrived. I'm finally there. Like, until I die, that's going to be, but that's what gives us that drive, is to figure out what that purpose is. Now, maybe one day I will find what that is exactly, and I'll be happy with it, because I know some people have it. They're like, this is why I was born. I was born to do this. And I don't know what that is for me, but I know how to look for it. And I know that's what keeps me taking my steps forward. And for me, I have a wife and kids and a dog and a bunch of horses. Like, I have people that I have to provide for. That's my mission. And a lot of people, they don't have anything. And that's why, and then the pandemic happened, the quote unquote pandemic, whatever you want to call it, this thing that's been going on in our country that's weird and across the world. And it's made the whole, like, people's mental health has just crashed and burned across the board. Not just military, not just firefighters, not just law enforcement, across the board. And it's just, now is a tough time for a lot of people. And we just need to be like showing people compassion and love and care when we can, because it's just it's rough. It's rough for a lot of people.
I think the pandemic has made a lot of people realize, this maybe sounds pretentious, but like how hollow so much of what they put all of their life into was, whether that's the ability to go to concerts or bars or the movies, the ability to like be out with friends. And I'm not saying like out with friends is a bad thing, but like so many people, that's their whole purpose is just to go out and have a good time with a bunch of people.
Right.
Or whether that's, how many people in this world just do nothing but pour themselves into their work, and that's their whole identity. We both work in the media. Like, how many people have you met that literally all their life is, whether it's film or music or this or that or the other? I know countless people that literally have no identity outside of that. And I think that's so much of what this did, is it made people realize, and that's why they got messed up. They're like, oh shit, if I don't do this,
if I don't go to work, like, the world still continues to turn. And it's like, yeah. Everybody's identity has been taking a hit. Yeah. And that's, honestly, that's all of us. And it's a strange thing to figure out. Is like, you have to, like, I'm just an ant on this world. If I quit doing what I'm doing, like, the world's going to keep on turning. Like, really nobody but my family's going to be affected if I go. But at the same time, you still got to figure out, if I worked at Subway and quit, like, they're just going to hire somebody else to take my spot. It's like, so yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what's done a lot of damage to a lot of people, is what they thought was so important was just snatched away really quick. And you're like, oh, hollow is a great word for it. I loved the first couple months of it, because it was like, I felt like we did more living as a family than ever, because we were home and we live out in the country and we have our own stuff. And it's just like, nothing changed besides I wasn't having to work. I wasn't having to be on the road the whole time. I was just home living, surviving. And I had to figure out, that's when I changed to rental properties and trying to diversify a little bit, because the film world and photography kind of just stopped, because a lot of my work's out of LA and New York and these big cities that were shut down. And I realized, like, for me, it was like, what's important, and that's time with my family. And on, the Lord says, in all labor there is profit. So it's a good thing if you're working. And it doesn't say how much you have to get paid for it to be profitable. I think it means it profits you. It's a human thing. It's good to work. So to have your own land and your own, growing your own food and, killing your own animals and all that stuff, that's work. That's labor. That's a good thing. It doesn't matter how much money you make. So for me, it takes the pressure off. If I have a bad month in work and I haven't got a good gig in a month or two, I'm okay, because my everyday life has labor and work in it. Raising my kids, keeping our little ranch going, taking care of everything around here. Like, that's where my purpose comes in. And my drive is like, as long as I'm working and I'm not just laying on the couch being a lazy bum, that's profitable, and that's a good thing.
Well, I think what you said right there is key, is that you have these multiple pieces that make up a whole rather than one thing. And like, I was talking earlier about people realizing, their time going out or work or whatever it is that comes off as hollow. And I'm not saying that those things are inherently bad things to invest in, and that, oh yeah, because I like hunting and fishing, that's not hollow. If I invest my entire life into that, definitely not trying to say that, even though hunting and fishing is 10 times better than going to a music festival. But I'm just saying, in certain things, people tend to make that their entire identity rather than just a piece of something they enjoy or are passionate about. Where, I always talk about, my entire life revolves around hunting and fishing, but it's so much more than that. Hunting and fishing is probably what I love more than anything else. And I have built my life around that, but my life has a lot more aspects to it than that. I have my business. I have the podcast, which again ties in with hunting and fishing, but it's something different. I have, and no, I don't really have a social life anymore. But at
least you're honest.
Yeah, I was about to say I have a social life, but mostly I just talk with people, text with people now and again. There's a lot of things I love, and whether it's my family or this or that, and it's focusing on like business. You diversified your business. So when one thing wasn't working out as much, it wasn't as big of a hit. Right. I think the same thing with our purpose and our passions and what sustains us in life is diversify. I mean, I'm a full-on ADHD mess when it comes to hobbies and things I'm interested in. You put something in front of me and I immediately want to learn all about it and how to do it, whether it's, gutting and gutting and processing an animal, or whether it's crocheting a scarf.
Do you crochet?
I haven't in many years, but I taught myself in college.
That is awesome. That's one of the most manly things a dude can do, I think, is make his own clothes. And I know a lot of people think it's womanly, but I think that's so cool.
It was honestly, I'll admit, I taught myself to crochet because all of the cute girls in my college class had like this crochet club together. And I was like,
good reason. Good. That's a great reason. Great reason.
And I still got a couple of like giant ass crocheted blankets that are completely uneven and lopsided, but they're awesome. And I made them myself.
Yeah.
But I digress.
But I think what you were saying, I love, you said you love hunting and fishing, and you've kind of made the rest of your life fit around that. I think that is very important. And I think that the American dream that I think a lot of society grew up on that are our age, I think is going to work for 80 hours a week to the same people and having to ask them when you can take your 10-day vacation. And if you're sick, you can only be sick a certain amount of times, and then you're not going to get, like, to me, that just, and we're both creative people, so maybe it's just a creative thing, but that just seems like hell to me. It really does. And you found hunting and fishing, and then you built your life to fit around what you enjoy and what you love. And I wish more people would do that. But so many people in our country, they build their life around what they do for an occupation. For me, what I do is I raise my wife and kids are like, that's what I do. That's my thing. And I've built my life around that. Hunting is a big part of that, but I haven't built it around hunting. I've built it around my wife and kids and raising a godly generation and being able to be that for them. And then I also love film work, but I build the reason I can do film work and I can do Airbnbs and I can do rental properties and work with horses and do what I do for a living that a lot of people think like you get to do all the coolest stuff and your life must be so easy. It's because I decided what I wanted to do in life, not what I wanted to do for a living. And I think that right there is what a lot of people, what do you want to do for a living? I want to live for a living. That's what I want to do. And then I just need to figure out how to make enough money here and there to be able to continue to live. And that's what I've tried to do the past several years is just, I want to live for a living. I don't want to work for a living.
It's it kind of little switch flipped in my brain when you said that. And I look back at my past and I always knew what I wanted to do for a living. Always knew since I was in high school. I took a couple of community college courses and fell in love with advertising. I wanted to work in advertising and media. And like I knew, and the rest of everything I did was centered around getting a job in advertising. And it wasn't until 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, that I suddenly decided what I wanted to do with my life, and then started figuring out how to fit all that in. And, I was in my mid 30s at the time, like it's when you're in your mid 30s, it's real hard to shoehorn some stuff around. Once I was getting old and settled my ways, like, it's definitely, I would encourage anybody that's listening and regardless of where you are in your life, but especially those that are younger listening, like think about that. Like, what life do you want to live? Not what job do you want to have?
Yeah. Figure out what you want to do in life, like you said, and then figure out how you can make that happen. Because you can but to do that, you have to have a really good work ethic. I'm not saying be a lazy bum and say, I want to be, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? You have to work. You're going to have to work. It takes so much more work and drive to do what we're talking about doing. But in doing so, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like you're living a life. That, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying be lazy and not have a job. I'm not saying that. I'm saying make your life what you want to do, your job, make it your occupation. And I'm not saying, the people that say do what you love or, love
and you'll never work it. Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah, I think that's kind of BS because it takes, you have to work. Like it takes hard. You have to have a work ethic. So I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, just figure out what you want to do for life. Like and then, yeah. Cause so many people, like they work at the factory and it's good, honest, honorable work. And some people, that's what they want, is to go be told what to do and work, so many hours a week and get their, Saturday and Sunday off and do that until they retire at 60. And then for me, that just seems like hell. I just can't. I tried it for several years and I learned a lot and I might, but the thing is, and what I do now is so many different things for a living. People, like my wife, Lexi, was telling me last night, she was like, people ask, so what is it Jesse does? And she's like, I never know how to answer that because like I said, just tell them I work in film. That kind of helps like head it off, but I do so much stuff. But the thing is like, so I had a film go to Sundance. My first time I ever tried doing film work, it got at Sundance.
Nice.
And so that's what kind of launched me into doing it, being able to, it sounds cool. And people automatically think, oh, well, you're legit. When I wasn't legit, I just ran, like I was just a redneck and figured out that I wanted to quit breaking my back for a living. And so I YouTubed how to do some stuff and I already love photography, but it's like, so I remember I did that, and my friend Tim Kolzak, he runs the Veterans Project. I don't know if you've heard of that. If you haven't, you should look it up. It's a great. It's wonderful. It's a black and white. He interviews veterans across the board. He gets their stories. It's a blog. It's a black and white photo essay, and it's one of the greatest things. You won't. The Veterans Project. Go look it up on Instagram, Facebook, all that. But he, and I'll say this because I'll tell him to his face. He's very pretentious. He was when I met him, and he thought I was. But I remember, and we hated each other at first, and then we became best friends, and that's usually the best kind of friendships are that. But he asked me, we were at Sundance. That's where we met because he had something there too, and it was a big deal to us. The next week, I was on my Instagram. I posted, and I was burning land. I used to work doing land management. I would burn properties and stuff like that. So I set stuff on fire for a living for a while. It was one of the best jobs I ever had. I loved it so much. It was a blast. It was a lot like the military, like being on deployment. Like most of the time it's boring, and then you'd have a few seconds of like, I'm gonna die, and then it goes back to work. But that adrenaline every once in a while that you think you're gonna die makes you want to continue to do that because it's fun. That's the long way around the barn of saying I want to do all this fun stuff, but I am willing to go work at McDonald's tomorrow if I have to provide for my family. Mm-hmm. Like I am not above it. It's not a pretentious thing of like, oh, I've arrived at this. I'll never do anything but make this much money. And like, I don't care. Like I'll do whatever it takes. Like I'll be the guy spinning a sign down at Little Caesars outside on the road if that's what it takes to provide for my family. I just don't want to stay there.
Well, and that's because you know where your priorities are. And again, your identity is not based in a specific job or making a specific amount of money. It's your passion, your purpose, your priority is your family. And so, yeah, there's these other things you like and you would rather be doing. But if that's going to combat with your ultimate priority, then you're going to sacrifice those things. And
exactly.
And that's the power, I think, like we said, of deciding the life you want to live, not the job you want to have, because I never got the job I wanted to have. I got passed over for so many promotions that I was more than deserving of. I, never quite made what I should be making, like that whole thing. And now I'm probably making a quarter of what I used to make and working 10 times as hard. And, but my life is so much better. And I do think about every now and again, probably once a month, I pull up the job applications and go, am I a crazy person? Why am I running my own business? It's usually after I woke up in the middle of the night having a panic attack about billing a client or something.
Yeah. I hate the money part. I'm an artist. I'm too nice. I want people to enjoy the art and just let's talk about that. Let's not talk about the money because I will give it away in a heartbeat. My wife knows it. That's why I don't do any talking about money verbally. I only do it through email because she does the emails because I will give it away in a heartbeat.
I've been pretty bad. I've had to hardline myself with some clients because I started this whole business I started because I was working in advertising, and then I was working in the music industry, and I was doing all this digital stuff, and I was doing the podcast as well on the side. And I would have guests that would come up and be like, "Hey, dude, I know you like do this web design stuff. Could you just take a look at this piece on my website and like let me know if I can do this or if it's possible?" And I'd look, and one of my friends, I was like, "Your website is bad, like really, really bad."
Really bad.
And she's like, "Oh, what can we do?" And I'm like, "Well, how about this? How about I come out to Texas, you take me on a 5-day hog hunt and we just hang out and shoot some stuff and I'll redo your website." And then I started doing more and more of that. And I'm still owed a sailfish hunt out in Florida. But like just more stuff.
You need to cash that one out, man. Yeah.
More stuff like exchanges with friends. And then I'm like I've got so much coming in. I'm turning it down because I don't have the time because I'm working more than full time. And I'm like, what am I doing? And that's kind of when that realization hit that I decided like I was working the job I quote unquote wanted. I was working a cool job. I was managing digital for the biggest music festivals in the world. But why would I want it? I hated it, but that was the job I wanted. Right. Like, yeah. What? And I just realized I'm turning down work with people I love. It's something I'm passionate about that my life has become obsessive over. And I'm turning that down in exchange for what I'm supposed to be doing. And it was there's probably a week from that point to where I put in my notice with my job. That's awesome that you did it that quick. And, I had a lot of freedom at the time. I'd saved up some money because I was planning on moving to Montana. And it took me a little bit longer to get out here than expected because I decided to quit my well-paying job.
I remember I did that. I quit a job. I was married and had 2 kids and was making $35,000 a year. And when I took that job, I thought I was like, that's the most money I've ever thought about making. Like, I thought I was a rich kid. Like, and then, time passed and you realize it became my life. And it was like, and I was living paycheck to paycheck. And I was like, I am giving these people my whole entire existence. And I'm still like living paycheck to paycheck and having to figure out how to make side hustle and all this stuff just to pay the bills. I was like, this is like, so I remember I finally came to this realization in Matthew in the Bible. It talks about the Lord owns the cattle on 1,000 hills and he owns the birds and the ravens. And it was like, they never asked for anything. He's like, can he take care of you the same way? He's like, you don't have to. I was like, well, I trust the Lord anyway to help me provide for my family. Like, why not do something? Because I always look to him. I don't look at my own, how much, if I work really hard, I can make this much money. I'm always like, I'm going to work hard. Lord, you're just going to have to provide everything else. And I finally had this realization, kind of like you had. I was like, why do I do stuff that sucks, that I absolutely hate? And I'm still having to look to him for help. Why not go do something that I actually want to do and like to do and trust him? And when I made that jump, I went from like immediately made way more money and I was having a blast. And I was like, well, that was huge. And then I got to the point where I was getting so slam busy with it was all photography at the time. I was doing weddings almost every weekend. I was just slam busy. And I remember one of my mentors, because I was just getting burned out and I was kind of at the point, I was like, I thought this is what I want to do, but it's like, it's killing me. He was like, well, that's easy. Double your prices. I was like, what? I can't do that. It's like, I'll lose half my business. It was like, yeah. And you'll make the same amount of money. You'll do half the work. You'll make the same amount of money. I was like, that's, it's so profound. I was like, there's no way that'll work. I did it. I doubled my prices and I got busier. I doubled my prices 3 times in the same year and finally got to the point where I wasn't working as much, but I was making a lot more money. And I don't even know why I told that story, but that realization of like, this sucks. I was like, why am I working for the man? And I'm still trusting the Lord. So why not just go work for me, doing what I want to do and trust the Lord? And so I haven't looked back. It's been fun.
So what we're saying is the second this podcast ends, quit your job.
That's exactly what I'm saying. With no backup plan, because that's what I did. I was like, I got a camera and I'm going to do this for a living. So yeah, go quit your jobs.
Oh, we're going to get some angry emails.
And if you're in school, drop out.
Yeah.
School's a sham. College is a waste.
Can you,
all the parents going to be mad.
Can you still buy a VW bus? I guess you buy like panel vans now and convert them. That's the new thing. No more VW buses.
Those are cool though, man. I want to do that so bad. I want to do that. Build out something and just live.
I've come really close a few times to just selling a bunch of stuff, throwing everything in a storage unit and van lifing it with the dogs. Very, very close several times. Montana winters have deterred me somewhat though.
Yeah. Montana summers awesome, especially in the Gallatin Valley, but man, the winters are brutal.
Especially where I'm headed.
Man, oh yeah. You're going to the work. Like you're up there near Glacier, right?
It's a few hours east of Glacier, but it is
east. Okay.
It's way up there and there's mountains close by, but where I'm at is just wide open. So that wind comes howling through. It's dry as sin. The wind comes howling through. And before you blink, it's like negative 40, negative 50.
Yeah. That, you can die. That is how you die.
Yeah. It's funny when it's that cold, you don't go out and feel cold. You just, I don't know. Everything just feels like it's freezing up because it is.
It is. Yeah. You're literally turning into a human popsicle.
Yeah, man. Well, on that note, since we haven't talked at all about hunting, I'm going to end this on a hunting note here, that's why I love these podcasts, because it's my podcast. I can talk about whatever I want. I love this conversation. But one thing I always like to kind of wind down and end on is, say, you run into someone, they know you're a hunter, and they just say, they're like, what, I think that's so cool. Or, I've always wanted to get into that. I've always been super interested in hunting, but I don't know. I don't know anyone that does it. I've never done it before. I don't have the resources, whatever it may be. What encouragement would you give that person?
That's a good question. I would tell them that it's not as complicated as the industry likes to make it seem. And you don't have to spend $19,000 before you leave the house to go hunting. And you don't have to wear all the fanciest clothes and have the most expensive weapon. And don't overthink it. Just go see if you like it. Because I am I'm very eccentric and not eccentric. What's the word? I'm cynical about a lot. And I'm the same way with like the hunting industry. I feel like that so much of it is just frills, and it's just money making. And it's like, I went on a bear hunt last year in Maine. I just got my rug back. It's right there. People
I was just about to bring that up as you were talking, because you were in some pretty high-end technical hunting camo for that bear hunt, weren't you?
Oh yeah, man. Did you see it? I was wearing it was with Blood Origins, and I'm going to bust on, if y'all don't know who Robbie Kroger is, it might not be as funny, but if you know him, this is going to be hilarious. I'm going to bust on his balls a little bit. So this is the third year in a row he's gone to the same bear camp to try to kill a bear. The first 2 years he didn't kill. He got skunked. Everybody he went with killed bears. I went with them. We were working on we had a whole road trip up the East Coast to Maine. And so I was filming the whole way. I was there to make money, not spend money. I wasn't going to buy a bear hunt. Well, I got there. One of the guys around the campfire he was from Mississippi too. And he was just nonstop talking. He was that guy at the bonfire that thought he had to tell all the stories and be the center of attention. And I just shot him down every chance I could. and it endeared him to me so much that he bought me a bear hunt because I put him in his place. I don't know why we became best friends. And he was like, I'm going to buy your bear hunt tomorrow, because he killed the first day. So I didn't have any camo with me. And to be honest, I don't own camo. I was in the Marine Corps 12 years, and I was told what to wear. And when the industry tells me I have to wear camouflage, I like to say, okay, I think I don't have to. So I went, and the guy that on Grove Hill Outfitters up there in Maine, he's a retired sergeant major in the Marine Corps. And he was like, dude, wear camo. You need to have this, take an AR platform, like a AR-10 or something that you're used to. And I'll, cause we're Marines and all that. He was like, and I was like, no, I'm going to shoot it with the Quigley rifle. It's like, this guy's got a 1800s, what is a 45 110 Quigley down under's remake rifle. And so that's what I'm doing.
Gosh,
and I wear a cowboy hat. I wear a cowboy hat and flannel jacket everywhere I go anyway. And he was like, no, well, at least wear all this. And I was like, no, I'm not. I was like, he was like, well, you're not going to see anything. I was like, okay. And so I told Robbie, I was like, you know what this means? I was like, this means I'm going to go out and kill tomorrow first hour, and you're going to stay the rest of the week, and you're going to get skunked the third year in a row. And that's exactly what happened. I went out there in my blue jeans, cowboy boots, green flannel shirt, and a cowboy hat, and killed. So that's the thing. Like, that's the way I hunt. And I don't kill the biggest animals. I'm not, according to the industry, I'm not a great hunter. I'm good at killing things. That's what I'm good at. And I'm good at providing for my family. And you don't need all the fluff. So that was a long way to tell somebody that's just trying to get into it. It's so overwhelming. You pull open a magazine and you flip open it. You got every new week, new gear, all this stuff, groundbreaking new stuff. You need all this stuff. I did the same when I got into photography. It's the same thing I tell people when they ask me, if you want to start photography or film, what equipment should I buy? Like, what's the advice you give someone to get started? I tell them, do you have an iPhone? Yeah. We'll start taking pictures and videos with that. What? No, I was like, if you can't figure out lighting and composition and what looks good in frame with your cell phone, having a $10,000 camera is not going to help you. The movie Shooter was a good shooter. It didn't matter if he had a 22 with a Sprite bottle taped to the front of it, or his his $10,000 rifle. Like, if you're a good shot, you're a good shot. The same thing with film. You don't need all the bells and whistles. And I fell for it in the film world. I went and bought out all the equipment, all the gadgets, all this stuff. And now, like, I'm so minimal in my kit when I travel, and I'm way better at it. And the same with hunting. You don't have to spend an arm and a leg. Yeah. You don't need all that stuff. Just go get started, and if you want to, if it's a hobby and you want to be a gear queer and buy all the stuff and do all that, you can. That's okay. I don't think less of you. Just, it's not near as overwhelming as everybody makes it think.
Yeah. And I mean, there's something to be said for buy once, cry once in some aspects of things. But if you're working on a limited budget and you're just figuring out if you want to try something, yeah, do not go buy a $1,600 bow. I don't know what kind of jackass would do that.
What's that hang? I see it hanging on a wall back there.
It is behind me. Albeit though, I did have most of the accessories for this already, and I've had this bow for like 5 years now at this point, and it's still humming along just fine. So, and you said that your life is hunting, and you arranged everything else around it. I'm also the type of person that has no ability to just dip my toe into something. I'm the guy that like runs screaming in and like
arms flailing.
Oh, sometimes it's great. Sometimes I just run face first into a brick wall, but somehow I just end up doing that in every aspect of my life. I am either more than 100% or I'm either that or zero. Like, there's no in betweens for me. So, but yeah, don't go out and buy the biggest bow. You don't have to go buy the most expensive rifle. You can go to your local gun shop. I mean, depending on what state you're in, and check your regulations, you can buy a shotgun and hunt deer with slugs for like $200.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy an old, nowadays everything's so sparse, a lot harder to find anything for a good price, but you can buy an old used rifle, as long, don't go buy a 22 or anything, but
right. And that's what I would say. I would say, try to find somebody that you can at least talk to that's further ahead than you are.
Yeah.
That isn't telling you to go spend $18,000 to get started. It's fun. It really is. It's fun and it's rewarding. It's not for everybody. There's some people that don't like it, but the people that don't like it most of the time haven't actually done it. So just get out there and find somebody that can point you in the right direction and dip your toe in it first before you start. People love to overcomplicate things, and the industry is so just full of all the newest gear and all the money you need to spend and all, like, you just put on a flannel and go see if it'll work.
It's an industry. It is what it is. And I'm not going to fault them for marketing it, but it's also up to us to make an effort to make sure people understand that's not the requirement. So,
yeah.
On that note, if people wanted to follow along, see more beautiful pictures of you in kilts,
Sean Connery's kilt.
God help me. I was about to end this podcast, but you have to at least tell a little bit about that. Cause I was scrolling through pulling pictures. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. So, I was asked to be it was my first time on a walk. I was a model on a runway up in New York.
I mean, as we discussed at the beginning of the podcast, you are a beautiful man. So it's,
that's what they say, but I don't see it anyway. So I did that, and it was, it's called Dress to Kilt. It's the biggest Celtic fashion show in the world, and it was in New York this year. And so they had me. I was in I walked a couple different times, but the one I was most excited about was they had me wear it. Sean Connery, Sir Sean Connery, started this years ago, the fashion show, and he passed away last year or the year before. And so to honor him, they wanted me to wear his kilt. I don't know why they chose me, or if the kilt chose me or what, but so I walked the runway in Sean Connery's kilt, and had my went traditional like all of us good Scotsmen do, and so I had my junk in the same kilt that my junk has touched the same fabric as his. So I guess that makes me better than you. I don't know. Yeah. So that's what I talk about. Like, if you knew me, if you knew me better than you do, and we will over the, because you seem, you're awesome. This has been a great, like, we're going to keep up. You'll know, I'm just a dude, man. And so, but because I've just started like enjoying life, trying to make life my living instead of making work for a living, to bring it full circle, I get to do some pretty cool stuff. Like, I kind of pinched myself. I was like, I'm about to walk the runway in a New York fashion show wearing Sean Connery's kilt, and I'm a nobody. Like, nobody knows my name. Like, it's not like I'm Chris Pratt or something. Like, that would make sense. But like me, like, why do they choose me? I don't know. I'm going to roll with it though. You know,
bro, my junk touched the same fabric as Sean Connery. No homo.
Yeah. So, it was fun. It was fun.
Goodness.
But yes, if they want to follow me, the Jesse R. Phillips on anything, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. The is not because I'm a douchebag. It's because for some reason, all the Nigerian warlords think that I have a face that they can scam women with. So there are hundreds of fake accounts.
I've used your pictures to catfish women before. Like,
hey, right?
Clearly,
yeah.
Like,
apparently, they make a lot of money at it. My wife has been killed off in so many different ways in these stories that I hear. It's pretty funny. She's died of cancer, been hit by a train. It's pretty funny. I'm a widower. They use my pictures of my kids, and they're like, look, I don't have my wife died, and I have these 4 kids, and they do this sob story. And I'm in Afghanistan right now with my children. I need to get them home. So can you send me money to Nigeria to help me get home from Afghanistan? And people do it.
Wow.
So stupid.
Wow.
Anyway.
And then they find your real profile and ask you how the trip home was.
Oh yeah. No. And then they ask me to reimburse, like, they think it's my fault that they were stupid and sent $50,000 over there.
Wow.
And they want me to pay it back.
That's amazing.
So if you're on social media, don't give money to people that you don't know personally. That's my 2 cents I'll leave to the world. And don't fall in love with somebody you've never met.
This is wise advice.
Some sage advice right there.
Sage advice. Well, we will end on that wise note, dude. I appreciate it. A little wild conversation. I had a good time chatting with you, man. Thanks for hopping on.
I did too, man. I appreciate it, brother.
All right, y'all, that'll do it for this episode of The Wild Initiative. Make sure to check out the show notes page at thewildinitiative.com/211 to get links to everything we talked about in today's episode. Another big thank you to Jesse for taking the time to hop on. It was a little bit different than some of the conversations I typically have, but had a really good time catching up and chatting with him. Again, make sure you go give him a follow on Instagram, follow along with all his adventures. But y'all, that'll do it for this week. Looking forward to next time. But until then, I hope this podcast inspired you to get involved, get outdoors, and plan your initiative for the wild.
Thank you for listening to The Wild Initiative. Please take a moment to leave a rating and review on iTunes or Stitcher. And head on over to thewildinitiative.com to get show notes, check out the blog, gear discounts, other podcasts from the Wild Initiative family, and more.